Hey, what's up? I'm Madison McGhee, and my memories were hidden from the internet until now.
Ooh, got him.
Got him. Got him. Hey, how you doing? My name is LaDanny. I was wondering if you like my podcast. If you want to listen up every Tuesday, I'm gonna do this and that.
Hello and welcome to
Yeah.
Callbacks. I'm your co-host, Sam Salem.
And I'm LaDan, back with another little fire podcast, jokes, comedy, stories, hard-hitting conversations.
The podcast where we talk to some of our favorite people in Hollywood and do deep dives on their lives and gain insight to funny, cute things about this industry.
Two 30-year-old men scratching for any little piece of success and fame in this hard city that we live in.
Bro, I get paid off social media.
Yeah, fading hairlines.
Yeah, the hairline.
Diminishing athleticism.
We be on that Chris Middleton.
Chris Middleton, yeah, raw dogging it. Corners
Chris
back.
Middleton, shave your head. I love you. I say that respectfully.
Nah.
If you're new to the podcast, we like to always start off with our mental health moment. Trademark Danny Sellers' mental health moment. So take it away, Lil Dan.
It's very simple. My mental health feels like a slow texter.
Don't even get me started on slow texters.
Slow texters are disgusting people. It's like I'm here, but I'm barely here, you know?
I'm going to get back to you, but after you already needed the information.
Facts. Like, technically we're conversing, but there's nothing out of this. You're not getting anything out of this conversation.
Dog, nothing got me more heated in high school. The people that you would text and they never respond, but then when you hang out with them, they're always on their phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They just don't like you. It's a not to use specific. It could be me too, but they just don't like you as a person.
But they're the Sure, of course. There's, I was busted and disgusted in high school. No one wanted to be my friend. Of course that was happening.
Disgusting.
But I am just saying the people who actually are legitimately like that's like your day one, but they're always on their phone, but they got 100 unread texts.
Oh, those people are chaotic.
How are you on your phone that much?
Those people are chaotic. They're bad people, not good people.
Speaking of chaotic people, Meghan Trainor.
So what happened with this? I don't know what happened with this.
Okay, honestly, as a teacher, so Meghan Trainor on a podcast said F teachers, but she actually said the curse word. But I'm just a dainty, fragile boy, so I don't talk like that.
Ooh, debutante.
She and a bunch of teachers were like, how dare you? And I am a teacher who's on social media who creates teaching content. And there were definitely some of y'all teacher content creators were trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel. False controversy. How dare she? Bro, I didn't even listen to the full context of it. But even without getting the full context, you could kind of tell, like, her husband is the dude from Spy Kids, Daryl Saraba. I don't know how to say his name. And like he had experiences in high school where the principal like basically like would announce to the school, the Spy Kids come, like just make his life unnecessarily messy, right? Or she had teachers that were like me, and there are bad teachers out there. Yeah. So to those teachers, she was saying F teachers. She was basically just saying like,
yeah.
But because she didn't specify that as hard as possible, people were like, how dare she say F teacher? Yeah, okay. She could have chosen her words a little better. We all say things that we don't mean. And I've said this on social media. What I want an apology from Meghan Trainor from is her fans constantly telling me I look like her husband.
That's crazy.
Okay? And also, Meghan Trainor, here's where I don't care about the F teacher thing. My husband's too big. It's painful. Quit trying to get headlines for no reason.
Talking about his meat?
She's talking about the Spy Kid.
The Spy Kid's meat? Spy meat? It's crazy.
And that's just messy. Come on. Just stop.
Is this all on the same podcast?
I don't know. This was just a headline that was also out when I was Googling the Meghan Trainor thing. That is what also.
That's crazy as hell.
Meghan Trainor BDE.
Tell him I got a massive meat too, by the way, while you're killing teachers. It's crazy.
But anyway.
That's insane. Bro. Literally, bro. I mean, shout out to the teachers too. Also, I feel like partially one, there are a lot of badass kids out here that teachers deserve to be shitting on. So that's one.
For sure.
For two, we gotta also remember like who teachers are in the grand scheme of, especially where we grew up. Like these are people that are from the Midwest. They also haven't necessarily seen people become movie stars or whatever from the hometown. So they're just like, yeah, bro, you should probably get a regular job instead of aspiring to be a rapper. And it's like you, Biggie, Small. It's always funny when the Biggie, like the teacher said I was never gonna be shit or whatever. Those memes. It's like, bro, yeah, because they probably seen 99.9% of niggas not be shit.
They were giving sensible advice.
Yeah,
They were just being like, hey, maybe you should look into finance.
Get a job, dog. You know.
I love that the kid who's drafted like top 20 in the NBA, NFL, whatever, and NHL. Yeah, this is for all the teachers who said I wasn't gonna be nothing. They told me I wasn't gonna amount to any. Nobody told you that. That's just fake. Like
or if they did, because
6'6", 250 pounds since a freshman in high school.
Oh yeah, kind of a total different conversation. Yeah, those niggas that I was an underdog. You were a 5-star recruit. Yeah, you ran a 4.4 your junior year in high school, dog. What underdog were you?
Yeah, it's the same thing as sometimes with myself. I'm like, I'm overcoming the odds to make it in my own little path. And bro, I am a 6'2" white dude, Christian male from the Midwest, from a middle class. Like I have been. There's no underdog, and everyone just feels like they're the underdog. You're not the underdog, Megan Trainor, for overcoming some bad teachers
and big old star meat,
overcoming the
intergalactic meat from your boy.
You want to talk about people overcoming something? Our guest today has a crazy story, which we'll get into, launching a podcast, True Crime, about solving her father's murder.
Crazy story. I have the pleasure of working on this podcast, and I've heard at this point 3 episodes, and it is a crazy, interesting story. So check it out. This conversation right now.
Let's get it.
Yeah, go for it. I'm scared. No.
Well, don't be scared. We are back here with our
chill.
guest, Madison. Hello, Madison. How you doing?
Hi. I'm
Dog,
good.
Don't be scared.
I was good until
Don't be
I
worried.
found out you stalk me on the internet.
Yeah.
You act like. Anyway, shout out Danny for.
What do I act like? No, let's say it live on the thing. Let's everybody
just
can
act
hear.
like it's our first episode every time we record. All right, let's
Yeah.
get an official.
Yeah.
Keeping it fresh. I respect it.
First
Let's
time
get an
listening.
official intro. Our guest today is a reality TV producer,
Savant.
documentarian, and world traveler. She's set to launch her Ice Cold Case podcast, a true crime investigative journey solving the murder of her own father, John Cornelius McGhee. We are beyond thrilled to welcome to the pod former Cistern Yard media contributor, the co-founder of Yes Production Company, and someone who, while you were getting your little Coachella passes, they were getting credentials for Cannes Film Festival.
Ooh.
Try to flex.
Amen.
Madison McGhee, welcome.
Woo!
It's the Cistern Yard Media. You went to my LinkedIn. You
No,
had to have, right? I'm gonna cry. This is so embarrassing.
I just keep an ear to the ground.
He don't miss.
Wow, like truly, that was a wow. If you want to roast me ever, yeah. That.
Well, now I have to go look at your LinkedIn. 'Cause that's-
Bring up the LinkedIn timeline, the TL.
I deactivate it really fast.
Do you really?
No,
Oh.
I would though.
I look forward to the day I can deactivate my LinkedIn or just make it a parody. I just put a bunch of
I'm
fake
there.
You already good. That's
I'm
good.
there. I was talking to a friend the other day and they were like, I was looking for a contact for someone and they were like, oh, like check their LinkedIn. And I was like, I haven't looked at my LinkedIn in 5 years.
Yeah.
And they were like, everyone's on LinkedIn. I was like, oh.
If it's feeling less helpful.
Bro, I hate linked influencers.
Yeah, those are the worst kind of people.
Have
That's
we talked
a
about this on the
thing?
pod before?
I don't think so.
Dog, and you are one of my friends, so if you're listening, I love you, but this was
Roast them.
horrendous.
Please roast them.
They're like a sales team leader, and they,
Ooh, those are the worst.
my rock stars.
Yeah, those are the worst kind
And
of humans.
it was this long post, but it actually seemed like, I wish I could remember it, but it was like, you should never take life too seriously. And it was like this big, huge philosophical post. And at the end, it was a picture about how they were at Topgolf on noon on a weekday.
Nice.
Oh,
And it's like, don't
I know
try to
what you're
make-
talking about.
Don't try to make going to Topgolf some philosophical.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that when they're like, oh, I took a chance and I hired a black person?
Yeah.
And
Facts.
it was the best decision I ever made. And the moral of that story is just take a chance.
yeah.
100%.
And it's just like, don't.
Yeah.
Everyone tries to flex on social media a little bit, but people on LinkedIn, you're just doing too much.
Because we all know we kind of hate our jobs for the most part. Like even a corporate setting, no one's like really likes their job that much.
You
For
hate
you
your
to-
job, you hate this podcast?
Yes, I'm miserable.
Have you seen the reviews?
Yeah.
People saying that we have zero chemistry and they hate us.
Yeah.
And there's no actually not that they hate us, that there's no way we are friends in real life.
That
we
was
must hate
me.
each other.
I'm kidding.
And it's true. I despise Danny.
Rachel.
Even that was.
As our agents told us to do that. We have to do
Oh,
more fist bump.
bump
on
every
that.
5 minutes. I'll be on it. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
It's a timer in the back. How you doing today? Doing good?
I'm doing
I
good.
feel like you're busy doing a bunch of stuff in life, and
I'm very busy. But I'm always busy. But I'm like very like more
Yeah.
busy than normal.
that's
But
Busy's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, I don't want to be like, I want to retire.
yeah.
You know, I'm like, I used to want to be busy and like not sit around at home. And now I'm like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could watch 14 hours of television a day and do nothing else.
Facts.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
That's the dream. I still substitute teach some and working in schools. It's always funny hearing today's kids talk about what they want to be when they grow up, because I feel like when we were kids, it was still like there was still like some naivete.
Firefighters.
Yeah, it was still like doctor,
maybe
teacher, lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally. Those were
Salesman.
the only options.
And like, of course, kids now, like some of them are like, influencer, YouTuber, whatever, like that stuff. But a lot of them are just like, I do not dream of labor.
Yeah. Facts.
They're just like,
Yeah.
they already have like
I don't
that.
subscribe to capitalistic
Yes.
ideologies.
What?
Yes. And they're just like, what do I got to? I literally had a girl say, I want to be a stay-at-home dog mom. And I'm like,
That's fire. Shout out
yeah,
to
that's
that.
the perfect job. Who would not want to be that? Just
Shout out to
I
that
want to be
queen.
that, and I don't have a dog.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So I think it's funny. Just anyways, you bring up wanting to retire. 15-year-olds are already like, yeah, I'm good.
Well, I'm cusp, so
Cusp?
I am 95, so I'm a millennial, but I
Okay.
could
Oh, that's what you mean by I'm cusped.
I could be Gen Z like on the right day.
Ooh.
With the right TikTok dance.
What they like to call zillennials.
Yeah.
That's
I think
Nasty term. You
What
hated
was
that.
the lineage? When you
I
said it,
think
my
that's
neck
me.
kind of.
I think I am that.
Millennials is crazy, but I think it's a technology divide, because I remember when I was in college and we were we're both 30. Yeah, big 3-0. Yeah, it's crazy, but we didn't have,
And I ain't even peaked yet.
That's just crazy. We say this every episode, but Sam has gone through an LA glow up. He used to be like really redheaded, curly hair, like way uglier, but he's like,
What happened to your hair?
just
I'm
cut it.
losing it. It's just thin.
it's not as red. He has his
Oh.
cheekbones are higher. He does look.
It's the Ozempic.
I can see you doing that.
No. No.
Anyways,
It's the Peter Thomas Roth Moisture Cloud. Sponsor me, Sephora.
sponsor the kid.
Anyway, keep going, Danny.
Yeah, we didn't have social media really until like halfway through college. So I think it's the technology
Halfway through
divide.
college. I'm sorry, you're only 3 years older than
But what I'm saying,
I am.
Instagram. All right,
We
Instagram.
had Facebook in high school.
I had
Yeah,
Facebook
we had
in middle school.
Yeah, but Facebook, it was different because Facebook was like kind
my
of.
mom and I shared a MySpace. Like, where were you?
Okay, that's
But-
nasty.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We had dial-up internet, so I didn't have MySpace.
That's confusing. I won't even get into that. But I feel like we had like the mobileness of social media wasn't really out until like halfway through college, because we had like Twitter on our phones, kind of. But Instagram made it mobile first. MySpace was like on your desktop. You could get on your desktop and code and do all this kind of weird shit.
Yeah, that's
Instagram
how
was
I
the
learned.
first thing that was just an app. Like I was so confused.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, this
Maybe
isn't like
Twitter,
a
I
website?
guess. Maybe Twitter.
No, Twitter was like a full-on
I
website.
had
Yes, that is
Twitter
true.
when you had to text your tweets.
Yeah.
There was no app. There was no. You.
Oh, I forgot
texted
about
your
that. You literally had a
tweets.
number that you would just text.
And then if you were like following or subscribed to whoever you were subscribed to, you would get their text.
It's crazy.
That is a
tweet.
memory unlocked, as the kids like
Yeah.
to say.
Shout
Annie,
out to
calm
social
down.
media. What?
You're about to say that's a nasty thing to say.
Sam, stop being so concerned about. I'm not judging you, brother. Live your life.
I am.
Danny's like, I don't even actually think of you at all. I don't. It's not that I don't hold you in a high regard. I don't hold you in any regard.
Any regard. All right.
Wait, real quick on that. I forgot you literally had like Twitter saved as a phone number and you text your tweets. I remember that would cause drama because I remember there'd be some kids that they thought they were texting their friend talking smack about somebody, but they accidentally texted Twitter. And so they were tweeting drama.
Let me tell you something.
I love when people are messy on the internet.
Let me tell you something. When I know that I would be a bad cheater because there's been so many times where I've texted the wrong person. Like, I remember one time, I'm gonna tell you this is the story that I'm gonna be done. Anyways, I just texted the wrong girl in college. I was at a party, like, yeah, go pull up on me, whatever. Like, I'm at a party and she's not even on campus, but I mean to text someone that's on campus. And I was so like just into the lie, just not gonna give up. I was like, she wasn't on campus. I was like, I'm gonna be home and whatever. I was telling my friend who's in town to come. I'm gonna be home in a second. He stayed back, but I went to the club. So I was just telling him, like, just lying to lie. And I'm like, I can't live like this anymore.
Yeah,
At
that's
21
messy.
years old.
Yeah, it's messy.
Shout out to
Very
the
messy.
old days. Let's get into the date.
Okay,
Sorry.
Save the Date, our favorite
Before we get
segment
too toxic.
where we give some dates that are significant
Sam
to our
flexes his
guests.
muscles.
Yeah, today we're just keeping it chill. July 30th, 2016.
Oh no.
Do you know? off the
Yeah,
top of
I
your head?
know. Do you want me to say what
Yeah,
I
go
did
for
on
it.
that day?
Yeah.
I premiered my first documentary.
Feature-length
Oh,
documentary, The
wow.
Lost and Found Project debuts at Capitol Theater in Charleston, West Virginia. A lot of Charlestons in your life.
Yeah.
College of Charleston.
Yeah. Wow.
So is that-
Homework
South
done.
Carolina.
You get an A. Oh, you're a teacher. Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, he's into it. So
Shout
You're
out.
gonna do a whole book report on me.
let's take it back to childhood. So you grew up in West Virginia, right?
Yeah.
And
Apologies.
Yeah. Thank you.
apologies.
I accept.
I've driven through West Virginia a bunch. What was it like growing up? Like, I'm from the area-ish, Cincinnati, and I drove through Charleston a bunch.
Sure.
Was there any kind of creative muscle or influence you had growing up, or anybody around you that was like, you should do this type of shit?
Huey Mack, big influence for you.
Brad Paisley? No. No, there wasn't
Mhm.
any. Like, and I'm sure there's like the one person in my life who is gonna listen to this and be like, well, it was I inspired you to do whatever. But no, I mean, there wasn't like much, especially film and TV.
Yeah.
There was nothing like that. I mean, I made YouTube videos in high school and people like made fun of me.
Right.
So it's funny now, there's probably kids in my hometown
100%.
that are like, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up. But like,
Yeah.
that was me
Yeah.
when that wasn't a thing. And
Right.
I was like, oh, that's so bizarre. Like, it's so strange.
Yeah, it is weird how we shit on people, even to this day with social media, like comedian posting our stand up.
Yeah.
I think that just became widely accepted like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Like there's still a faction of people
embarrassing,
that just
yeah.
did not.
Well, self-promoting is weird, especially like in my hometown. It was like no one was doing that. So you're like, if you're the only one, it's very strange for other, like we all watched YouTubers, but if it was
Yeah.
like a kid from your high school, now all
Yeah.
of a sudden it's weird. But it's the same as like acting, right? Like if you're a theater kid in high school, you're a loser. But if you're an actor in a movie, you're cool. But you're
Yeah.
doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That is very.
That's
true.
like I'd always joke growing up that you remember the Sonic commercials? It was just those two white dudes that would just sit in the car. And
Yeah.
they would like, I'm like, growing up, I meant it, but it was like a joke because I didn't think it was a real job. I'm like, that's my dream job. Like you just get to, I'm sure they got
Yeah.
paid and you just make these little commercials. And I didn't even have the like wherewithal to be like, oh, if that's your dream job, that's actually like, yeah, you can go
Something you
out
can
and
do.
like take
Mhm.
improv classes and then like get a manager and whatever.
Totally.
But yeah, when it's actually happening,
I do feel like it was a disadvantage for me because, I mean, I end up, I'll get where I get. But if I had known back then that was an option, or like even as like people who are comedians who get into it like quote unquote late in the game, if you
Yeah.
start comedy doing open mics at like 25, you're like, oh my God, there was an 18-year-old doing that.
That was me. Yeah.
And
both of
now
us.
they're, they have a special at 26. 'Cause
Right.
They started 8 years ago.
right?
But if you have no idea that's a thing, then you can't start until you know.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that with like TV and film, if I had just known that I could do that, maybe I would have gone to college for film. Maybe I would have
Mhm.
done that. And like, I'd be winning an Oscar right now.
That is beyond relatable because I started when I was 26. I was almost 27, and I felt like a dinosaur with people that were like 25 or younger, and they're like, I've been doing this since like to your point, since high school, or I dropped out of college to do this.
Right. Aaron Branch, a couple episodes ago,
Yeah.
he started at 15 and was like,
Yeah.
It's
And like I
crazy.
listen to like comedians podcasts and I'm like, oh, like how'd they get on SNL? And it's like, oh, because they were telling jokes when they were 11 in comedy clubs. It's like, oh, cool.
But there is some value into living life outside of the creative that you're in now, because it gives you perspective, I think, a little bit more and better. Like I don't know. I feel like if I would have started, say, at 22, maybe I'd have more time in it. But I think those first couple years would have been really shitty.
yeah.
Whereas I feel like I got at least decent fast at stand-up because I was just older, my life perspectives. I wasn't just talking about...
So you think you're funny?
Dude, that's very true though, because I spend too much time thinking about. I started at honestly 28, almost 29.
So yesterday.
Okay, Kevin Hart.
Damn. Damn. Hold on. You should have.
I love that.
Get a job. Hold on. That's crazy.
Yeah, but I've only been doing it 2 years, but
Wait, you're funny. I've seen both. I saw you both at the same show like a year and a half.
yeah, he told me that you're at the show. I bombed at that show, so that's kind of a bummer
thought
you're
you
at
were
that
funny.
one. Well, you have bad taste. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's very kind of you.
Honestly.
Sorry. That's just me self-projecting.
I won't tell
my
you the comedians
self-hate.
I like. I do have bad taste.
No, it tastes, everybody likes what they like. But just the whole starting at 28, I spent so much time being like, if I would have started at 18, but also if I would have been starting at 18, I would have been saying horrendous. Like I would have been saying things that I don't agree with.
I
that
already say
hate.
horrendous stuff now. So if I would have
we know.
started... So if
Cancel this man.
Yeah, I'm on my last straw. But
No, but I'm grateful to your point starting when I started because it's a long game anyway, and I feel like we're already heading in the right direction.
What-
I wanted to. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, on that date, so debuting your feature-length documentary, I know part of it. So it's you traveled to 17 different countries in like 2 months.
17 or 18.
Yeah, and I know that was kind of, and I am sorry for your loss, like sparked by like tragedy of a loss of a friend. But what made you kind of talking about childhood? Okay, I'm putting up YouTube videos. 21 is still young to be like, not only am I going to take this big trip and kind of find myself in, hey, life's too short, so I'm going to enjoy it while I can, but gave you the confidence and awareness to be like, oh, I'm actually going to use this to make it into not just like some little 10-minute YouTube video, like an actual feature-length documentary with a proper film release. You're getting news, like legitimate news articles posted on this. So yeah, where did all that come from? Where did that idea come from?
Yeah, so I graduated college in 2015 and I was like very like everyone's lost or whatever, but like there were so many of my friends who were so cool with like getting a 9-to-5 and like excited about it and like health insurance and all these things. And I was like, I don't understand that at all.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even get excited about any of that. So I got a 9-to-5. I moved to DC with like a college friend and I hated it. Like it was like not fun. And all of my
You're
friends
working with
were like,
nonprofits, right? Like raising money for them?
yeah, it was kind of it was like a for-profit company that raised money, helped nonprofits raise money.
Tight.
So it was like
That's tight.
they're making a
That's
lot
what's
of money, but
That's what's
like
up.
they're
Big-
helping nonprofits make money. It was
Big
very strange.
capitalism.
So I did that for like 9 months and I knew it was terrible and I hated it. So that's when I would like go home and like come up with like video ideas or like what could I do? And
Started the lemon stand.
yeah, holy
What's Lily?
I really thought I like wiped all of my stuff from the internet. So this is like
finds it.
crazy. Yeah, so I started with a friend of mine. We started this like thing called the Lemon Stand and it was like a blog that we like kind of started turning into videos because that was just always where my head was like really going. And we did like happy news and like we did funny videos. We just did like a bunch of stuff that really had no like brand or concept, but we were just making stuff.
Right.
And my friend had passed away in this like freak car accident. It was like spur of the moment. Like obviously like no one was anticipating this. And I found out and I took 2 weeks off of work and I went home and was like hanging out with my family and her family. And then my 2 weeks was up and I was like, I can't go back to this job.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
this is so dumb. So I was like, well, I kind of started this like blog that's building a little bit of traction. Why don't I just keep doing that? And then my partner in it, who was living in New York at the time, like 2 weeks after that, was like, oh, I can't do this with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, cool. So what am I supposed to do? And I knew that like the mindset in my hometown was very much like, no one does anything creative. You
Right.
have to go to college and then you have to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, there's tons of people out in the world who are not doing that. And I'm just going to go find them and make a documentary about those people and
Yeah.
bring that home and like show all of my like loser hometown friends
Flex
that
on them.
Yeah.
that
Talk
you
your
can
shit.
like do different stuff and you
Right.
don't have to like put your life in this box and whatever. So I planned it for like 3.5 months. And then I had a friend reach out and was like, oh, I saw that you're trying to go to Europe for the summer. Like, I'll come. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So we like split the cost of everything. And I just went until I ran out of money. And when I had $1,000 left, I booked a flight home. And so I ended up, I think, it was like 18 countries. And my goal was like every country I went to, I would meet someone, interview them, and then I would go to the next one.
Wow.
So if that took like a day, cool. If that took a week, cool. And I just bopped around and I interviewed a bunch of people. I met a ton of people. It was like just the wildest experience
Yeah.
of my life. And I was 20.
Wow.
And then I turned 21 and then we released the doc and it did, it was like not good, but it was, it was what it was. And yeah, it was such a like eye-opening experience for me. Like, oh, I can do that. Like I
Yeah.
had never done this before. I had no like idea what was going on or like how people make documentaries. But it was like, oh, like I'll just keep doing this. And
Right.
so that's just kind
That
of.
is crazy. So were you were still in school or you had graduated?
I had
You graduated in
graduated.
2 years, right?
I graduated in 3 years. So I graduated high school a year early.
Okay.
And then I graduated college in 3 years. So I was
Oh, wow.
19, turning 20 when I graduated
Oh, my
from
God.
college. So this was like within the year after I graduated college.
That's crazy. That reminds me, there's this old show on, I think Apple now, called The Long Way. It's 3 of them. It's Long Way Down, Long Way Around, and Long Way Up. And it's these 2 dudes. One's an actor. They're both actors.
Sounds made up, by the way. Keep going.
I know, yeah.
I just like the hand motions that you did.
Wait, the one's
That's why you got to watch on YouTube all those people out
Yeah,
there.
please. I spent so much time cutting it up. Anyways. Sorry, anyways. Just look at
That looked like a dig at you a little.
Yeah,
like,
this
and
does
what
all
are
the
you
work.
doing?
He does all the work.
Deceit, yeah, just me panicking. No, I have to cut this up in 2 days. Anyways, keep shitting on Sam. No, you're great, Sam. Listeners, me and Sam are in a great place.
I don't respect you.
Long story short, this is a TV show with these 2 dudes. The nigga that played Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, Ewan McGregor, Ewan something.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Sure.
they ride motorcycles around the world essentially, and one of them was like they started from the UK and rode like laterally to like through Europe, through fucking Russia to Canada. Another one they went down and started.
Okay, but there's ocean. Like, how do you?
I mean, yeah, you just take once the water comes, you put it on
Oh, I see.
planes and
Okay.
shit. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just
Or
And
on a
then-
boat.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
when you're saying they rode it around the world.
Yeah, where the land was.
Logistically.
Where the land was, And then, so anyways, long story short, it was cool to see them interact with humans in every different country. 'Cause they're on bikes, so there's something about the visceral lack of protection a motorcycle gives you versus a car where you just have to, whenever you stop and get gas, you're automatically amongst the people. And it was a really cool documentary to watch them, these 2 white guys from Europe, interact with different people in Chile and fucking
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, that
Russia.
Yeah.
What was your most like surprising country? Because I feel like everybody, like you can kind of imagine like what Paris or London
Right.
is going to be like. I haven't been many places in Europe, but like when I went to Copenhagen, I just never thought of Copenhagen before. So like it just maybe that was ignorant of me, but when I got there, I'm like, oh my God, this place is like incredible. Was there like a more obscure country that
Yeah.
you were just kind of like shocked by or that you loved or?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of like more of an underrated. Everyone still asks me, and this was a while ago, but whenever my friends are going to Europe, they're like, oh, where should I go? And I'm like, you have to go to Portugal. You have to go. It's the best country I've ever been to. It's just stunning. The people are really cool. And you lose that, like, Europeans really hate Americans, but they don't really go to Portugal.
Right.
So when you go there, they're like, oh, you're American? That's cool. Like, you're not normally here.
Right.
And it's more of like a European destination. So it's kind of fun and you get like more of a cultural experience versus like, yeah, like when you go to Paris, it's like, yeah, you can experience Paris, but like you're going to run into like a bunch of Americans.
Yeah.
But in Portugal, it was like, oh, I'm running into like Europeans who are on vacation. And that was kind of a fun vibe.
That's awesome.
All right, so I'm trying to plan that. I mean, within the next year, I want to go on a vacation. All right.
I should have been a travel planner.
Okay, so I'm trying to do like one of those like Stella got her groove back trips, or just
Oh.
me like
Eat, Pray,
solo.
Love.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
Eat, Pray, Love is
I never seen that one. So
I went to
either.
Bali last year and I
Is it
found
a white
myself.
person? Is that the white version of it?
Maybe. I've never seen either movies we're referencing.
Oh, is the one you're referencing black?
Yeah, how Stella got her groove back? Oh God! All right, Angela Bassett, I think. Angela Bassett. Anyway,
Oh, she did the thing.
this is crazy. Where am I, bro? Listeners, where am I? Anyways, I'm just being funny, but where I want to go somewhere that's like kind of coastal, and I can go by myself and have a little bit of fun, but it's not such a cultural difference where because I'm a basic American Midwestern black dude. I'm not gonna learn
You
anybody's
just
language.
said a lot of things that aren't all the same, but yeah.
But you know, I'm just like a hometown cheeseburger, hot dog ass nigga. So like, I don't need to be. I don't want to go somewhere too complex where I'm like, I don't know where to go. I can't get no.
Yeah, go to Portugal.
Is it coastal? Is it coastal?
Yeah, Lisbon's on.
Wow,
Yeah,
do you not know geography? Go to Croatia.
I was gonna say Croatia would also be a
Split in
really good,
Croatia.
awesome
What
try.
about Spain? Isn't Spain close to Portugal?
Yeah, they're next to each other.
There. Damn. All right,
Sam,
America. We got to work on geography, and I'm gonna do better in the classroom.
I'm so fucking tired of this. You want
That's
to be
all
my new co-host?
I didn't. You should be our new co-host.
All right. Thank
Let's-
you. Thank you for the tips.
I feel like I am being very mean to Danny today, and
I hate this place.
I'm gonna keep it going because he's trash. It's just funny how some people don't understand sarcasm at all. Where people are gonna hear this and they'll be like, "What? They really don't like each other."
Yeah.
Oh my god, what if I was sitting here like,
This is awkward.
that's
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
We're not good.
It
We're
is.
not that good at acting. Next date.
Okay, July 1st, 2021. I'd be impressed if you pull this one out.
Oh, I launched my Big Brother podcast.
Yes, On the Block, a Big Brother podcast. Big Brother, the reality television show.
Big B.
I knew I should have deleted that from the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to talk about because you know the people from Big Brother 23 are always commenting and liking all your social media. You're homies with a lot of the cast.
Homies, yeah.
Did you work on the show as well?
No.
But you've worked on a lot of reality.
Yeah,
television.
so I was just a big fan of Big Brother specifically.
Yeah.
It was
Mhm.
actually before I worked in reality, kind of the only reality show I liked and watched. I don't know why. It's trash television.
Bro, that show, I mean, yeah, when it was
I never watched
the original seasons though, I mean, when I watched it, it was hitting. But anyways, continue.
Yeah, it's like it's very addictive, but it's like not like a good show. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like you're watching it because it's like
I don't never apologize
Interesting.
for reality. The Bachelor, horrendous show. If it's on, there's no way you can't watch it. If
Totally.
you
Yeah.
any reality TV show, if you get 30 minutes of it, it's hard not to be hooked. They're designed to be that way.
Yeah,
So-
Right.
It's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that show, and I always wanted to like I would call it practice podcasting. I like knew at some point I would want a podcast about my dad's thing or something else, and I was like, what's something that's super like low key? If I totally mess up, it won't matter. And I was like, oh, I'll just recap Big Brother.
Yeah.
So I started that. I was living in Portland at the time. And I started that, and it was just like me recapping episodes. Like that's how it started. And I would do it with my boyfriend and make him watch. And then we would just sit and I'd like give him notes and like nudge him and be like, say this or whatever. And that was the beginning. And then like 5 people were listening. And I was like, oh, I don't like that. Like I knew I was doing this to practice, but like I really hate that 5 people are listening to this. How do
Yeah.
you get more people to listen? You have guests on who have people who want to listen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was like, let me just reach out to people who used to be on Big Brother and see if they want to come on my podcast. And I would get like randomly people would DM me back and be like, yeah, I'll do your podcast. And I'm like, oh, they probably don't know that I only have 5 listeners, but whatever.
Yeah.
And they did it. And then it started building traction. And then I happened to move to LA like the day of the Big Brother finale. So they were all getting out of the house. And I was like, I'm just going to email everyone from Big Brother 23 and be like, listen, I'm in LA. We can do a Zoom. We can do in person, whatever you want. I would love to interview you for my podcast. And like a lot of them said yes. And a lot of them said they wanted to do it in person.
Wow.
So I met them, and Hannah from Big Brother 23 is like one of my closest friends right now in my life. And she was on the show and I interviewed. She was my first in-person interview.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It is great. That just goes to show, like, not being in comedy that long. Like, I used to think, like, oh, man, you got to have some crazy connections to get these big names to do your show. But it is crazy, like, the power of a DM. Like,
Yeah.
DM and proximity, too.
Yeah.
Just being in the same city. Because people
Totally.
know how small the world is, and people know the value of just showing up, you know, an afternoon, even if it was a bad experience, not saying it would have been. Like, they know it's not, I'm not doing shit either way. And the upside of it is that I get to grow my following.
Right.
Yeah. It was like a
continue.
perfect storm of like, a lot of them were used to doing interviews because they were
Yeah.
fresh off the show, like
Okay.
within a week. So
Yeah.
like I interviewed a few of them like within the week they got off. So they're kind of running the mill of like doing a bunch of interviews anyway. So like they're
Okay.
just like, yeah, I'll do yours
it's
as
just
well.
another one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then once I had those few people, the ones who maybe were a little bit more hesitant, it was like, oh, I've already interviewed half of
Right.
your cast. So then they're like, oh, okay, well then you must be fine. I'll do it. And so it just kind of snowballed from there. And then, yeah, I just met more and more of the people from that world. And yeah.
That's
That's
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah.
What got you into the reality stuff to begin with? Like, was it something in Portland? Was it something here? Like, what was?
It was
Working for
here.
the news in Portland.
Yeah, I worked. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I did news, and that was terrible. I would never recommend. You
Yeah.
make like $12 an hour, and you like tell like everyone what's important. It's like, I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm telling this to a teacher. You're probably like, yeah, fuck you. But it's like the same concept where you're like, I hold so much responsibility,
Yeah.
Right.
and like I get paid pennies. Like this is
Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
And like you work really weird hours and all of that. So I hated that, but I liked my idea with going into news was I love documentary filmmaking. I love storytelling. I love telling real hard-hitting stories, and news sucks and only old people watch news, but I'm a zillennial.
Ages.
So what if I come in and I'm like giving all my like cool creative ideas, and I'm the one who changes the way news is told, which that will never happen. So then I moved here, and it was like, well, reality's kind of close to that ish. And if you do reality, then everyone in reality, they say, wants to end up in docs. So I was like, oh, okay, well then I'll just do that. And with my close proximity to all these people, I was meeting producers and other people like that. So it was very easy for me to like slot into like other shows. And then kind of once you're in, you're in.
What's been the coolest part working reality TV? Any moments that jump out?
Fuck the NDAs. We're here.
It's
exclusive.
my favorite
Spill
part.
the tea. Spill
I mean,
the
I have
tea.
so much tea, but my favorite part is that it's a stepping stone to where I want to go. I do not want to work in reality TV.
Oh, what a professional, boring answer.
Down the
Obviously,
line.
that makes sense.
PR
You know what I
train.
mean?
We got
Like,
PR training here.
Reality is like, there are people who I work with who are like, I love reality TV. I want to work in this
Yeah.
forever. Like, I do a lot of food shows. And like, I literally think these people are nuts. They're like, I want to work on food shows for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
it's
not your
rinse
passion.
and repeat. It
Yeah.
gets boring. And I am not like that. So yeah, I definitely think they're stupid. I'm just kidding. Oh.
Oh. Well, do you have any, juicy hot goss you can share from the reality TV world that you can either pull back the curtain and be like, that's not how it actually is, or just funny moments,
Yeah.
whatever you may have?
I mean, like I'll be the one to spoil that reality TV is not reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much as a producer are you telling people like, hey, make sure when you go back in there, tell her to say this so that we can do this?
Totally. And that is just how it is. And
Yeah.
it's all we call it unscripted TV.
Right.
So it's not, reality feels like too strong of a word. Unscripted is right, because
Right.
you're kind of prompting. Like I might, like what you're doing right now. You're like, oh, talk about this. And then I can say whatever I want.
It's not really authentic.
But you have an idea of what I'm going to say, and you have an
Right.
idea of how I'm going to react to something. And so you kind of are prompting me, and then I act on that.
Yeah.
And like, that's it's annoying because I was a fan of some of these
Yeah,
shows,
yeah.
and now I'm watching them as I'm working on them, and I'm like, oh.
So, all right,
Ignorance is
I have
bliss.
this question though too, though, because I feel like at one point it might not have been as scripted. Like the old school, like Real Worlds, it feels like that shit was kind of crazy.
Sure, yeah.
But maybe it was always like this. But when do you think it changed, or did it ever? Because it feels like the old shit we used to get was like slapping raw, uncut. People were fighting.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like them
Jersey
old
Shore.
Like Jersey Shore.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was that manufactured. Whereas now you go watch like a Netflix dating show, it feels like every single
Yeah.
thing. It feels scripted. It doesn't feel that authentic. Like Love is Blind. What's the one? Too Hot to Handle. Is that the one?
Where they can't fuck.
No, it was a different one. Maybe Perfect Match is one I just watched.
Oh.
And if I'm like,
I know a lot of people on that show.
It's
like in real life.
But it doesn't feel real. It feels like I watched it.
Okay, I have tea on that. Ooh. I didn't work on that show.
You don't
I
have
can say
to.
whatever I want.
Yeah, it's up to you.
And I
I
won't
like how
say-
you're convincing yourself.
I know,
Yeah,
we didn't
go
say-
for it, sis.
You're like, yeah. No, and I won't say names, but there were people. Okay, so the premise of this show, right, is you go on with a bunch of other like Netflix reality stars,
Yeah.
and you see if you could date each other in
Right.
the real world, right?
Right.
I know for a fact, at least one of the people who went on that show was actually in a relationship in real life
Yeah.
and went on that show just to be on another show.
Right.
So had no intention of actually being with anyone or dating anyone long term,
right.
and is dating around the house
Yeah.
just to be on TV. And I think, now backtracking to answer your question, I think the shift in that was with the rise of social media,
Okay.
right? Because when people were doing Real World and acting insane,
Yeah.
there was no Instagram or Twitter or anything where they thought they were going to get followers and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, you want me to say this? I'll say whatever just so that I'm cool to work with and you want me on the next show.
Let me get that sugar
Yeah.
bear hair product.
'Cause it
deal.
is
100%.
Right. Because it is insane to think that these people that are on multiple dating shows, like, oh, I'm trying to find love for real this time. It's like, dog, what are we?
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, you already
It's your
tried.
third Netflix specific show. Like, give
Yeah.
it up, bro. You know.
When Netflix is trying to build out their like reality universe.
Yeah.
So it's
Definitely a universe.
yeah, they're, if they can cross pollinate shows, if they can do any
Right.
of that, like they're going to.
If they need a podcast host cage match, I know someone who I could throw some punches at.
This is insane.
The next
super
roast
awkward.
battle.
Yeah. So transitioning into in reality, the reason you're doing it is because you want to get into documentary stuff. Obviously, the podcast that you're about to launch. So May 17th, 2023. That's the first time we've had a future date
Ooh.
on the save the date.
First.
But that is when you release Ice Cold Case, correct?
Wow.
Find it on all podcast platforms.
Mhm.
You better check it out. So I want to be delicate and sensitive because obviously this is like a very tragic. It's like your dad was murdered, and I'll let you speak on all of that. So obviously, I know a lot of this is motivated by actually wanting the case to be solved and justice to be served. But do you see this as something as like putting it in podcast form could then lead to it becoming like a documentary, or is it just like you're not even thinking that far ahead? It's like I want this story to be heard because in honor of him and justice to be served, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think both. So very focused on the podcast right now. Very focused on like what can we make that is compelling enough and production quality is high enough that people care and want to listen, and it ticks all their boxes so that when they're driving in the car, that's what they put on. And then they talk about it with their friends, and then they tweet about it or whatever.
Right.
That's like the big focus right now. I have this interesting knowledge because I've developed shows and sold shows that if you give away all the information in a podcast, no one's going to want to make it a documentary.
Mhm.
But I don't want to hold back information on the podcast if that information could spark someone's memory and help it get solved.
Yeah.
So there's this weird dilemma of like, do you make this podcast and fingers crossed it does well enough that someone wants to buy it as a doc? Or do you put the information out, see if it can get solved, and then, figure out the rest from there?
Right.
And I think I've decided, like, just put it all out there. And, like, we don't know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
And if it does get solved, then maybe there's an opportunity for, like, a follow-up documentary about the trial or something like that. But it doesn't seem right to do all of this work and then hold back some like big hitting information
Yeah.
to maybe sell it as a documentary.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What I mean, yeah, if you just want to let listeners know as much information as you want without obviously giving away the podcast because you want people to listen to it, like what even led to you discovering, hey, this is a murder that should be solved, and is just kind of like sitting there?
Yeah. Well, it happened 21 years ago. So it's something that like I've always kind of like lived with in the back of my mind. Oh yeah, my dad was murdered. It's not solved. Would love to solve it. But then those thoughts would kind of be like fleeting. Like it's almost like undiagnosed ADHD probably, where I'd be like 2 weeks, I'd be like really into it and like looking up stuff and
Yeah.
Googling stuff. And then like I'd wake up one day and like be like, okay. And then I wouldn't talk about it or think about it for like months and months. And I would go through that cycle for like a really long time. And then really it was like COVID. I mean, everyone was just sitting around doing nothing. And I was like, oh, I should like kind of look into this again. And that's when it was like, oh, there's like really something here. And there is a market for this in the mainstream where right now it's just this black dude in Ohio got murdered. No one cares. But if I can make it a mainstream story and I can make him like a high profile case is what they would call it. Like, oh, your dad's not a high profile case.
Yeah.
Well, if we can make it a high profile case, then maybe people will care and
Right.
maybe they'll reopen things and look into things. And so that was kind of the motivation there. I did not know my dad was murdered when it happened because I was 6.
Wow.
So I didn't find out until I was like about to graduate high school.
Oh my gosh.
And you'll hear that story on the podcast. But
Crazy.
yeah, it was a very weird like realization, learning about it. Like family dynamics got really weird for a sec because it's like, oh, my mom knew obviously and didn't tell me. And
It sheds a whole new light on,
yeah,
on
totally.
everything. That's crazy. What is the format? Is it you going over all the info you have? Are you interviewing people?
Yeah, so I've
what's that look
already
like?
done a ton of interviews. It's going to be very much like a documentary and a podcast. So there's interview bites throughout, but it's not like one episode is an interview with one person. So yeah, it's very much crafted and produced like a show.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, I mean, we've got sound effects, music, composition, interview bites sliced throughout, me narrating a lot. But yeah, I'm essentially taking you from like start to finish, my journey investigating this case and
Right.
how the information came in to me is how I'm giving it to you. Instead of reorganizing it so it makes sense, you're going to get the info in the same order that I did and have to piece it together in the same way that I did.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Super smart.
And yeah, it takes you on kind of a wild ride.
Is it 6 episodes, right, total?
8.
8 episodes total. First 2 dropping May 17th. So that's in like just a couple weeks.
Couple of little days.
Make sure you go check that out.
Yeah.
And that concludes our Save the Date section.
Yeah. Getting into current day, I know you're a big fan of comedy producing as well.
Mm-hmm.
How do you juggle your stuff you're doing now with the pod and very serious and doc stuff, and you mentioned that, and also your love of comedy and producing comedy? It's 2 very different things, and I think a lot of comedians are kind of have this duality, but I'm curious to know what you're
Yeah, I think it's like the perfect combo.
Yeah.
I just was at Moon Tower Comedy Festival in Austin, and it was like, it's been booked. I was supposed to go, and then I was working on this podcast, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not the time to like take 5 days off and like go like hang out with comedians like and do nothing. And I went, and it was like, oh, I had to go. This was like the best time. Such a good relief from like everything that I was doing. And I got to like hang out and laugh and see people I haven't seen in a while and laugh at like really funny jokes. And it was like such a good break. And so I actually feel like it's such a nice combo because also working with comedians all the time, it's like stuff isn't funny anymore, or like you kind of lose that. So then you like dive into something a little darker and then you can pop back in. It's actually been kind of a nice balance.
Yeah, I was telling someone literally last night, I'm like, I kind of want to go to this show that someone else is throwing, but I also don't. 'Cause I'm just getting tired of watching comedy a little bit. And I feel like when I first started, I was like, yeah, I'll watch a whole fucking show. I'm just excited to be around comedy.
Yep.
And now it's like, bro, if I'm on a show, I could easily not watch unless I know the comedian.
Right.
Because also, it's a small world, so we've seen a lot of our peers' bits already too.
Totally. Yeah.
So
I mean, it doesn't.
And a lot of you clowns are unfunny.
Talk your shit, Sam.
I'm him,
dude.
y'all.
It's kind of a small community here. Like, it feels like, oh, it's LA. There's tons of comedians. But like, if I go to a show once a week, like I'm seeing the same people. Yeah, because I kind of hit that stride too, where like in the very beginning when I was like trying to connect with comedians, I was going like, if there was a show, I was going.
Right.
And then I was like, oh my God, I hate this. Like this, maybe I don't want to do comedy. Like this is not it. And then, yeah, once I fell out of it and kind of found that balance, it was like, oh, okay, this is like a good stride. But yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And some people start late as hell or,
Oh, yeah, no. If your show's at 10:30, I'm not coming.
Well, even like it was supposed to start at 9:30 and it doesn't start till 10:30.
Yeah, no.
Oh, that's the worst when people make it run late. The worst. Well, are fun. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just waiting for you to say whatever you had to say.
We're waiting for you to be funny.
Damn.
Man.
You know, is it because I'm white? He always has to make it about race.
You made it about race. No,
our final call your shot.
Yeah, so we did this segment, our last segment. It's essentially call your shot / message in a bottle to yourself. So we want to make a digital moment that you can look back and say, oh, I actually did follow up with that. Because sometimes podcasts just ask, what's next? And that's kind of like depressing and gives anxiety.
Yeah.
So what's the little message in a bottle you can give to yourself, whether it be an event or a thing that you make or something that you're looking forward to?
Oh gosh. I mean, I have a lot I'm looking forward to right now.
This is therapy, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I'm like, okay, I haven't been to my therapist in a long time. I texted her about my podcast and she just said, wow.
Ooh, that's crazy.
That'd be my 13th reason.
and a half. 13 and a half reason.
I was like, oh, she's just mad that I haven't seen her in a while. Paid her money. I didn't pay for her to text me, so I guess that's...
You alright, though?
I'm dying over here, but...
That was... He meant it. That was his...
I'm gone.
Could you imagine just take one of those, like, pills? Right,
if I died podcasting...
What's those, like, old,
so
like,
tragic.
like spy pills? Cyanide pills?
I can't do this with Danny anymore.
He just started foaming them out.
Anything for the views, right?
That would be tight.
Honestly, yeah.
If somebody that died on camera, I could pop off that. That would be so tight.
Anyway,
Sorry,
okay, message to myself. When am I opening this message?
I mean, it could be a year from now. I mean, we're gonna probably
20 years.
Podcast dropping next week, but
okay.
Whenever you want to look at it, you can.
I mean, okay, let's take it. I'm so like producer. I'm like, all right. So at the end of the summer, this podcast will be out. It will be a smashing success.
Smashing.
And we're gonna be figuring out next steps of like where we're going from there. Because I do not think it's gonna end at the end of episode 8. I think it's gonna keep going.
To be continued.
But we'll know by the time I open this message to myself, which will be cool. And then in a year from now, I am not doing reality TV anymore.
Ooh, love that. What will you be doing?
I will be doing scripted and working on this.
Nice.
I love it.
And comedy stuff. I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to produce some specials for some comics.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that shit.
I'm really ready. I've met them all. I've seen them all. I've studied them all, and I'm ready to like really get in the game because there's like those like 3 people who make all the Netflix specials.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm ready to be one of those people.
To that point, sorry, I don't know if you have somewhere to be, Sam, but you can go if you need to.
I'm not.
I know you were talking about you wanted to be out by a certain time, so it is what it is.
Oh,
that's that's being out of your life by a certain date.
No, what are some of your favorite specials that you've seen maybe the last couple of years or so. Mainly
You want-
production.
You want me to expose myself?
Yes.
Okay, real
This is a
quick,
podcast.
I want this answer. Why is it so embarrassing if someone's like, "Hey, what bands do you like?" That is the most embarrassing
It's
thing
what-
I could
it's what
ever have
you
to
like.
admit. Who are your favorite comics? It feels so. This is a judge-free zone.
Yeah.
You can like whatever comic you like,
Okay. Okay.
and I'm sure I will judge you, but in a way that is funny banter.
My favorite
Louis
comedian
C.K.,
of all
Bill Cosby.
time in this world to ever exist is John Mulaney.
See, I
Yeah,
knew that, but I was like, what?
That's a great take.
I thought you were gonna say something else. John Mulaney's a pretty successful,
I
funny
think
ass
he
comedian.
is the best thing ever.
He's hilarious.
He's so funny.
I was just telling Dan, I was so disappointed last night. I was on a show and it said secret headliner, and I asked the booker, who's the secret headliner? They're like, oh, it's Mulaney, and I'm like, I don't care if this is corny. I'm so pumped to be on a lineup with John Mulaney, and then I'm sure he had other stuff he didn't show.
Bro, I
up.
don't think that's corny at all. I mean, someone like John
he
Mulaney.
did go to the
Original room at the Comedy Store last night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, but John Mulaney, that's a great. Did you watch his most recent special?
Yes, I saw it live, but then we also watched
What'd
it.
you think?
I think it's so good. We've talked about this. I love his style of like storytelling and making it funny, because really that's all he does is tell stories. He's not like a joke writer in that sense of like, he doesn't write like quick little punches. He
Yeah.
tells a story and the whole story is hysterical.
Right.
Yeah.
And like in this past one, I mean, a lot of his past specials have been like, kind of like, I don't know, airy, where there's not really anything like thought provoking. But this one was like, wow, you have so much to think about life and the world. And like, I come from like a family with like drug addicts, and like just the way he was able to like normalize that conversation, I thought was brilliant, but also be so funny.
Right.
I just think he's great.
How do you think it was shot? What do you think about like the way it was, the production value of it? Because I have this thought on specials, but I want to hear what you
Listen, I'm trying to work on some of these, so
I mean, I think it's more
I
so
thought it was okay. I noticed a lot of like weird, like the focus was off and they would fix it and then they'd use that shot. And I'm like, I guess all the other shots were just garbage. Like, I don't know why they picked that one. It is really interesting the way comedy specials are shot. But that one, yeah, there were like some weird, like it's 2023.
Yeah.
Why is that happening?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I have this weird thing where I want to see more specials not shot in just the traditional theater settings, because it just feels. I think his special was really, really good. The content of it was like really good. It was very funny. I don't know. I want us to find different ways aesthetically to shoot specials. Because
Like
different
even Moses Storm played
venues?
for it a little. If you see Moses Storm's, it was still in like a theater, but he at least did something with the stage.
Yeah, it looked a little different. I think Chris Rock's tambourine looked sexy. It was in a theater, but it looked
And Bo
sexy.
Burnham.
I was just gonna say,
You know,
Correct that.
I think
Bo
Rothaniel.
Burnham is
Yeah, I think Rothaniel
brilliant.
looked sexy too. Like it looked good. It looked. You could put it up. You could blow it up on your TV and like damn near have it in the background. Like that's
Yeah.
when I make my shit. That's what I want my shit to look like. If it's not even, you don't hear it. But in the background, you're at a party or something, like it would look tight.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like visually appealing and
Like shot in like a Beverly Hills mansion instead of a
Something-
theater. And it's like your
yes.
friends sitting on couches or
yeah,
something.
something cool like that. I want
Yeah.
to do something for this half hour I want to shoot this fall. I want to do something a little different than just like the same velvet rope. And
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
that's fair. I
Agree
mean,
with you, I'm not like most comedians' energy.
Because I'm not. I'm not.
I'm different.
I mean, speaking of like different specials, like Bo Burnham's Inside, like if there wasn't a quarantine and someone shot a special like that, that would be really cool. It was cool still, but it's like imagine doing that and not being because of the confines of COVID.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I
that
think
would be
thinking
cool.
about ways to do stuff like that would be like really brilliant, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to find different ways to make shit different. Because I feel like there's so many specials that aren't special, first of all. From the content of it is not special.
Poetic.
I know. But also the aesthetics of it is also mediocre too. It's like, dog, why did we have to have this right now?
Yeah.
And I'm a fan. I think we were talking about this last night. I'm a fan of comedy, and I try not to like shit on people because it is hard to do what we do, especially at that level where I'm aspiring to be. But I'm like, if I had all these money and resources and people backing me up, I feel like I would be doing a little bit more to make my shit look fire.
Yeah. So true. What was that look at me?
Because I feel like your energy's off, and let's just let Madison.
Bro, my back is on fire. I was trying to adjust the way that we talked about this. I'm just in a lot of pain over here.
Oh no, 30.
The one tear coming down.
Anyway, I was not trying to kill your vibe, but we
No.
have taken so much of your time. We appreciate you coming and being part of the podcast.
May 17th.
May 17th. Tell people where to find you, wherever you want them to find you.
At Ice Cold Case on most things, and then
Gucci.
I'm Madison _McGhee on everything.
Yeah, MCGHE.
Yeah,
There's an H in there.
it's giving teacher vibes. Yeah.
You gotta know how to.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun and embarrassing, and it was good.
Gang, gang.
All right.
I should call one and go home.
This is crazy.
I've been in this podcast studio way too long.
Oh, me and Sam's energy has not gotten better. If you're still listening to the podcast at this point, we are going to try to figure out a way to get through this. But that was a great conversation.
Shut up.
That was a great conversation, man. I was like, was that our first non-comedian we've had?
Yes, because some of the people like do other stuff besides comedy, but yeah, she's full on producer.
Yeah, Madison, producer of all kinds of different things. And you know when you meet people that have a certain energy that you realize you don't have. It's almost like when you went to college and played sports for the first time and you thought you had a certain skill, and then you see the other people that also have that skill or more, and it's like, oh, that's a different level of just energy and ability. And she has that from like a production standpoint where sometimes just seeing all the shit that she does and the people she knows, I'm like, how the fuck do you do all of this at once and do it in a very like succinct way? Even with the rollout of this podcast, like she's got like billboards, she's negotiating, and a launch party and different people to help with different facets of the production of it. So it's just
she's a true buttoned up. I mean, you don't graduate college at 20 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Without, being someone who has their stuff together. Shout out her. Life lessons with. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say shout out to reality TV too. Shout out to all the.
If you want to make me a reality TV show star,
I had my friend asked me yesterday, would I go on a reality TV show, like one of those dating shows? And it would have to. I don't know. It'd have to be the right one. 'Cause I don't know if I could buy into the the monotonous bullshit of it.
Right.
And I don't know if I could do anything that plays with marriage, like the 90 Day Fiance or like the Love at First. What's the one they get married? That 90 Day Married at First Sight.
Yeah, I don't watch that much reality. Yeah.
I couldn't do that shit. But I'm sorry. My ism for this week. I was listening to podcasts with Steve Harvey and Shannon Sharp. You ever listen to that? Club Shay Shay. Shannon Sharp, NFL tight end.
Can I just say Shannon Sharp I love Shannon Sharp. I love when he talks on something.
Yeah.
If you ever are feeling down, just watch Shannon Sharp talk about LeBron James.
Goat James.
And
Goat James.
Give me your
Goat James.
Shannon impression.
I don't even have one. That's just Goat
James.
You
did a Booger McFarlane impression on the podcast, I think early on. And anyway, this is way to the point. Anytime Danny does an impression, I love it. But anyway, your ism.
Yeah, shout out to the NFL draft, Booger McFarlane. Oh, yeah, so I was listening, and Steve Harvey, older, he's, I think, 66 now. Shannon is mid-50s. And I think our generation has gotten in this interesting moment in time where we don't value the older generation as much. Like, we kind of, these old washed up niggas and whatever, whoop-de-whoop. And some of it's like shows in the Dave Chappelle. It's like, you were way better, Dave Chappelle, early 2000s, or these other comedians that we see now that are on their 8th special, so to speak. And I think there is some truth in that. But I think we lump in the older generation too often, and we need to listen to them. Because there's so many lessons and wisdom. There's so many learnings and wisdom that I think we just forget, trying to just say, oh, you're old, you don't know what's going on. This is the new time, this is the new generation. And listening to that podcast gave me so much just, I don't want to say peace, but just understanding and knowing that the things that I'm going through now is not unique to just me.
Yeah.
The bad things even. And even how you can see someone persevere.
Right.
And if you ever and people that are listening, go talk to your grandparent or your parent and bring them a problem that you have that you maybe have never talked to them about before. And to hear them tell you their experiences that maybe you didn't know, whether it be, oh, I didn't know my parent dropped out of school for a year back when they were my granddaddy. Like some of those things that we just don't know because we just see, oh, this is Pop, this is Grandpa.
Right.
And we don't realize that, oh, this motherfucker was in the military. Or they, had a kid before they got married. They got married before they married grandma. Those kind of things that we just, when we go through them as adults now, we like are in panic mode because we don't realize that the people around us have also gone through some of this shit.
Right. Yeah, lean on the wisdom that you have. Because it's, the newer generation or the older generation watching them tackle today's problems. It's like, yeah, please get out of the way for that.
Yeah,
in some ways. But yeah, with like the wisdom, even just, learning about whether it's a parent or whoever that kind of figure is for you. Like I remember just last week, like I found out my dad, like you're going to gain new respect. Like I found out my dad was like a part of this church that was like made people go door to door and like be like
Jehovah's Witness?
It wasn't Jehovah's Witness, but like, can I tell you about Christ Jesus? But he was just like, that's kind of like, just feels pushy. I'll go door to door, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go around the neighborhood and just introduce myself and be like, hey, is there anything you need?
Yeah.
And some people are like, oh, no, thanks. But there was a person like, I need a mattress. He's like, okay, I'll help you get one. And I'm like, wow, I never knew you did stuff like that. And that, like, what a great perspective that is to have on life. Like, don't just be in that church setting, this pushy person of like, let me tell you about this. It's like, oh, I'm actually just going to go out there and try to help people meet needs because that's actually what, like, being a loving person meets people where they're at. So anyway, to your point, I agree.
There's just a value in it, man.
Talk to your elders.
Talk to your elders.
Shout out Danny Salem. He wanted me to tell you that, he's Danny Salem, you're Danny Sellers, and he appreciates
the
that.
original Danny. I didn't know your daddy's name was Danny. That's crazy. Why didn't you never tell me that? This is kind of weird now.
Oops.
No, man. I don't know. I really was listening to that, and I just was thinking back at some of the conversations I had with my grandmother, who's now passed, and
shout out the couch tattoo.
Yeah, man. Shout out to my grandma, and some of the gaming you just get from older people, like you said. Yeah, don't ask them about trans rights. That's probably that's probably not the conversation you want to go down. But some of the other stuff that it is more, I guess, timeless. The shit, relationships, career path, those kinds of things that are relatable. And you take everything as a grown ass person. You should take anything with a grain of salt because it's still your life. Right. But hearing the perspective of others who have been through it in the past, there's so much value and wisdom. And I think we're becoming wise as we get older, right? Like been married and buying houses and all those kind of things. Now you're creating your own little wisdom. And I think wisdom is such a valuable thing now. Because there's so much technology out these days and different things, AI, that we just like, everything is future, and looking back and looking forward. But I think we need to look back more to see how we should think and move.
Amen, brother. That's been another episode of Callbacks.
Another one, baby.
Make sure you go out there, talk to your elders, and tell your elders how to rate and review on Apple Podcasts.
Please.
And go do that together. Subscribe on YouTube. Email us with any feedback or questions or anything at callbackspod@gmail.com. Get home safe. We love you.
Toodaloo.